Hi, and welcome to Geno's Takes for NCAA Saturday Week 8. You know how we do things. We walk you through a day of gambling. Got to get you up early today for a noon game where Boston College travels to Louisville, and the Cards are laying 7.5. You know why? Because they're still a pretty good football program. Remember Teddy Bridgewater? That's one of the reasons I love them. The second reason I'm going to bet Louisville, because given all the stuff that's been going on that campus with the student athletes, I don't think they have time to screw anyone else, including me, the gambler. Not to mention, I don't know, let me rephrase that for the joke. Not to mention, while the Louisville players are exploding everywhere, let me tell you something BC is not exploding anywhere, because this is the most boring, unproductive offense I've ever seen. You know what I think they're using for the playbook? The Bible. Because they shy away from doing anything exciting. In fact, if you take away the 176-0 win against Howard, which at this point I can only imagine is an actual dude and not a team, they're a terrible team. They're 2-4, and they're averaging barely 8 a game. Barely 8 is another thing that the Catholics are used to, but that's a whole different playbook. All right, look, here's my point. They are not going to do well, and I think the Cardinals run away with this game, which is why I'm telling you as a gambler to do what every frigging student athlete at Louisville is doing right now. Grab a Cardinal and lay all you can. They're banging hookers, and they deserve to. These kids are young. They're horny. Take the Cards. All right, let's go to the 3:30 game where Texas Tech travels to Oklahoma, and the Sooners are laying 14. And they should be, because this Texas Tech team reminds me of something my mother used to say to my father. Hit me once, shame on you. Hit me twice, I'm just not paying attention, right? I mean, what did I think you were going to do with that skillet? Make me breakfast? That's my job. It's a joke. But just like Dad, Texas Tech has given us more than enough time to prepare, and we have no excuses if we're not ready. After 6 games, I'm excluding the Baylor neutral site game, but that would prove my point. But let's just go. With the 6 games they've played, 4 have been at home. And in those 4 games, you know what Texas Tech is averaging? 61.5 points. But in their 2 road games, they're barely scoring over 30, 32.5. That's a 29-point differential, which is why I think they're not going to fare well when they travel to Oklahoma. Not to mention, Oklahoma has an incredible defense. So what am I telling you to do in this game? 2 things. I'm telling you, take Oklahoma, lay the points, and take the under. Oh my God, that's a lot of picks. And speaking of a lot of picks, let's talk about Texas A&M quarterback Kenny Hill. This is a 7 o'clock game, okay? And why am I not doing a 10 o'clock game? Tell you why. Because you're going to be watching Game 7 of the of the American League Championship Series on Saturday. Gene, how do you know? It's Friday afternoon when you're taping. They haven't played Game 6 yet. They have somewhere. Somewhere in the world of karma, they have already played the Game 6, and I will explain all this to you if you go to the MLB. And I explain Game 7. I break down Game 7 before Game 6 even happens. But now, let's get back to Kenny Hill. Do you know Kenny Hill of Texas A&M wears the number 10? I don't know why, because given how he played last week against Alabama, when he chose his jersey, I'm amazed he didn't pick 6. Look, he threw 3 pick sixes in that game at home on the road, which can't do a lot for his confidence, okay? But you know what's very high? The motivational level of Ole Miss. You know why so many people like A&M in this game? Because Ole Miss lost last week to Memphis. And you know why they lost to Memphis last week, in my opinion? No disrespect to the Tigers. Because they were looking past them to this game. So basically, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for it. And the only thing they didn't expect to have coming into this game was a 1-game losing streak. So they have an incredible chip on their shoulder. I cannot imagine Ole Miss losing this game. I'm taking Ole Miss. I'm laying the points. Those are Geno's picks, Week 8, Saturday.